elected officials taking unprecedented measures to keep people safe.
Governor Raimondo issuing a stay-at-home order.
Hi, I'm here today with Dr. Vincent Bohlinger, the Director of Film Studies Program at Rhode Island College. He is here today with me over Zoom, and he's going to be creating galette. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, a galette.
Okay. And why did you choose this recipe?
I was kind of in the mood to make it, to be honest. So yeah. I've got rhubarb growing in the garden, so I thought this is something that's really great. It seemed kind of easy. You know, I usually bake something for my students at the end of the semester. Banana bread is usually like the thing that I do. But yeah, and so, but this seemed a little bit more involved, a little bit more maybe for a cooking show or something, as opposed to banana bread, which kind of, you know, and it's kind of unsightly. I don't think people need to see how my banana bread gets made when I give it to them. But yeah, this is a little bit more impressive, maybe. So
okay,
yeah.
And
you want me to start, or should I start?
Start. Yeah, like how do you put this together? Like, what is and where does this originate? Like, how did you know about galette? Like, I haven't heard of this dessert, or if it's that.
Yeah, so a galette is like a pie. It's like an open-faced pie. I think you can also call it like a crostata, right? So and I think it's just what I say is that it's kind of carb friendlier. So, you know, a pie is like has two crusts, but a galette is basically one crust that you kind of fold up, right? And so it's also nice because it's a little bit easier to make. I think it's a little bit I mean, pies are super easy. I'm a big fan of pie. But galette is even easier, I think, on a lot of ways, and because it allows for a little bit more messiness, kind of stuff, and you'll see that when I actually try to make it. Yeah, so I don't know. I can. So I gave you the recipe, right? So I guess you could just post that. But note that any kind of fruit, you can use like apples, you can use peaches, depending on the season. You can blend them in a whole bunch of different ways, and so basically, I've got rhubarb, it's spring, I'm gonna put rhubarb in it, and then, you know, we grow blueberries here, and so we freeze them in the wintertime. We grow black raspberries and raspberries, and I freeze those as well, and so I think I'm gonna do, well, whatever I end up pulling out of the freezer, black raspberries probably, and so I'll show you, and then, but basically,
so you do, use that, okay.
I'm just gonna, my aim is to fill a cup, right, to fill this, which is roughly 2 cups, which is a lot more than I think a lot of people recommend. I think the official recipe, this is on Adaptation of the Joy of Cooking. The original recipe is like 1.5 cups, but I like to overstuff it. And it makes it healthier, right? Fruit is healthy, so.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
especially fresh fruit. That's great that you like grow your own fruit and stuff.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, end times, we need to prepare ourselves, you know. So,
that's very true.
Rhubarb is a little bit, veiny, as if you know like cutting old celery or whatever. That's kind of like what you have going on here. And now I'm very self-conscious on my cutting technique. I'm worried that I'm not doing the fast dicing, but it's kind of hard because it splins, you know. It
it does have a fibrous,
but I think rhubarb is an amazing thing. It cooks down. It's easy to grow, especially in this area, you know, like they like cold. And it's, I think it's a wonderful plant. It's got a kind of a tanginess, a gooiness that some people maybe don't like so much. But when it cooks, it just cooks into mushiness that I think is just really lovely. So
I heard that the leaves are poisonous. Is that actually true, or is that just a rumor?
I think it's true. I used to live in Wisconsin, and we had chickens, and I remember seeing the chickens eating a lot of rhubarb one day, and I was like, oh, that's really weird. And then the chicken was dead the next day.
Oh wow.
So I don't know if it's because of that, but I'm gonna blame that instead of me as a owner. So
right.
So let that be a lesson to you.
Yeah. Don't feed chickens rhubarb.
Yeah. But so the leaves. So basically, what I do is I just pull and they come off really easy. I just kind of tug, break it off the plant. I rip off the leaf and just throw that on the ground. And what's amazing is that leaf, which seems quite firm, and it's gigantic, right? If you think of like elephant ears, it's kind of like that.
Wow.
They kind of disintegrate really, really fast. So, but I'm just gonna put some blueberries in, and then these are just frozen blueberries. the yard. Then I'm just trying to move a little bit of the ice out of it. And then I'm going to get some black raspberries, I think, from the freezer. The black raspberries are similar to blackberries. They're similar to raspberries. They but you don't ever see them in the grocery store. I think because they don't really last very long. They're kind of fragile.
Okay.
They look. I don't know. These are frozen, so they don't look as pretty. Let's see if I can find one that's actually like nice enough. You can kind of see it, but they're kind of like raspberries, except they're black, right?
Okay.
And they have these, they have thorns, and they are. I always joke that they're kind of sentient. Like if you just walk within like 3 feet of it, they will just reach out and grab you and tear your clothes, tear your skin. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
So, yeah, it's always I tell you, harvesting. So it means so much more when you're harvesting black raspberries because they take up, they take it out in blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
You're putting your blood, sweat, and tears into this recipe.
Exactly. Yes. So. I just use this as kind of a rough estimate, to get a sense of that I have an adequate amount. And so you see it's totally variable in terms of how much you put in terms of proportions and stuff. And then I'm just going to dump this into a bowl and then put a little bit of sugar on it to kind of let it sit a little bit. And then I'm actually going to put a little bit of butter in it also. It kind of makes it just a little bit, everything tastes better with butter. But you don't necessarily have to use butter for that stage, but this is absolutely not dairy-free because the crust has butter in it. Although I've made crusts, my sister can't have gluten, and so then, butter. She can't have dairy, so then we've used like coconut or palm kind of stuff in its place. That's
interesting.
Okay.
And do you still get like a flaky, puffy crust result by using coconut and other stuff?
It's okay, but it's not. I mean, for someone like myself who really likes butter and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not the same. Okay.
It's not the same. Yeah. So I'm just putting 2 tablespoons of sugar on, and I'll leave the sugar out because I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of sugar on the pie crust when I'm finished. I think the recipe has how to do the pie crust. But one key thing about the pie crust is that you want to kind of have it cold at first.
Yeah.
And then so then you can kind of roll it out. A galette you can bake on an actual like cookie sheet.
Yeah.
I typically use a pie plate anyway, even though you don't have to use a pie plate. I do it just because it's a little bit neater. So if it leaks, because I'm not very good at so particularly juicy fruits that you use can leak. And I've said vegetables, but you can actually make galettes that are savory, right? So if you think about like spinach and other things like that, it actually can be quite tasty as well.
That's interesting. Okay, so you can make sweet and savory.
Absolutely. Like pie is something that should be incorporated into every meal of the day.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm just putting a little bit of flour, and then I'm just going to roll this out.
Yeah.
So this was the pie crust. I made it with a food processor, but you can kind of do it by hand. It's just a lot faster with a food processor.
Yeah.
But then it's been in the fridge for a bit. This is half. I think it was Martha Stewart kind of said, like, if you flatten it once you prepare it to put it in the fridge, it actually makes it easier. And that was kind of a revelation because I always had balls.
Yeah.
And so, like, as you'll see, like when I attempt to roll this out, it's going to be a bit labor intensive, especially because it's cold, right? So the key thing is, so the key thing is, you kind of want to roll it out, and basically this is going to be the size of the crust.
Okay.
And that you then fold, right? So that's kind of the idea. You're kind of going to flatten it out, and then you're going to dump the fruit on the inside, and then you're going to fold it over. So it's pretty easy once you know what you're doing. Yeah.
Do you think you've been baking and cooking a lot more since the shelter-in-place order and stuff?
We tend to do a lot of cooking on our own here anyway.
Okay.
But I think kind of because I think we have, because we haven't done as much like it's just it's a weird kind of reality now where like we have to plan out grocery lists in a way that we've never done before, because if you miss something or forget something, you just go back the next day or whatever, right? And now,
Right.
you know, we're going to the grocery store once every 2 weeks, right? At the most, and it's really all about texting, right? So we have to have our list because we're only going one person instead of multiple people and that kind of stuff, and so it's a little bit, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
So the key thing about pie crust is just you want to keep it moving, right? That beep was just the oven that says that it's prepared, it's ready, which always happens. It's always a challenge to see if I can finish before the oven is preheated.
Nice.
I'm never able, no matter what the recipe is,
Yeah.
no matter what the temperature is, I can never be faster than the oven. And our oven is slow. So. But I did turn it on earlier, so yeah.
Yeah.
So. You can flip it over too, that's fine as well. And the key thing about a galette that I think is, I mean, a pie is really easy too, because you can always trim with scissors, you know, how you want it to be. And if you find that it's kind of uneven in terms of the overall kind of shape or whatever, you can always, right, take something off, and if you put a little bit of water on the edge of the pie crust, you know, it sticks, right? I mean, so water is kind of an adhesive for dough, so you can, it's really pretty easy to make it however you want. But a galette is really nice because it's, like I was mentioning before, it's messy. It doesn't, it's just, it looks rustic. That's the word to use, rustic.
Rustic, okay.
Yeah, so it looks rustic. Well, it's just easy.
Yeah, I'll put that in the thumbnail of my video. Rustic galette.
Rustic, yeah.
Dr. Bohlinger.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
how did your semester go with everything being converted to online? Like, how did you adapt? How did your students adapt to online learning?
Yeah, I mean, I think it went okay. It's just not ideal, right?
Right.
It's not something that it worked out okay, I think. I mean, I had to learn, I had to, you know, like, we had spring break and then a week where we kind of delayed, you know, we prolonged spring break in order to kind of give us a little bit of time to figure this stuff out. And I sure needed it. My students were really patient, so I was very grateful for that.
Yeah.
And I think it ended up being okay. I mean, the issue is, though, you know, like, you don't think about things like storms, bad weather, stuff like that, where that affects, you know, we had a big storm and Massachusetts was really hard hit, and then students weren't able to log into class because of that. So, yeah. So once the pie crust is kind of a goodly size, right, like this, I guess I don't know how much of it you can see, right? Then you can just kind of take it and just kind of lay it in. This actually is probably a little bit bigger than what I would have wanted, but then you can kind of see over here on this side, see how it's a little bit, so then I can just kind of like this, right? Just kind of stick it, press it over each other, and it kind of creates a seal. Okay. And then just kind of, I'm just kind of letting it sit into the edges of the pan, like this. So if this was a traditional pie, then what you do is you would just take scissors and go around the edge, right? And then you would take another pie crust and put it on top, and then you would kind of, I don't know, fringe it together or whatever.
Okay. But this one you said you just fold it in.
Yeah, this one I fold over, so I'll show you that, yeah.
Okay.
And then, but I forgot to put a little bit of butter. I think it's important to put a little bit of butter in this, so. Unsalted is what they recommend, but I mean, I'm just taking a little bit of butter off of a tray. Yeah. I'm just taking little tiny chunks of it, so it's going to melt into here. But basically, they just want like a tablespoon of butter, so I'm just taking roughly the equivalent of that. Okay. Yeah, that seems good enough.
So, does softened butter, do you prefer that over melted butter to mix in with the frozen vegetables?
No, I'm using hard. This is right out of the fridge. And that's just because it's easier to cut, right? So like the key thing with like pie crust, you want to use really cold butter so that when you like, I mean, I'm not a cook, a chef or anything like that, but
Right.
my understanding of it is you want really cold butter to mix in with the dough so it kind of keeps its shape, it doesn't melt in, so that that's when you get the crispiness, so that when it's baking it melts, and then you get these spaces, and it's those air spaces that kind of get the flakiness, right? So I mean, I use cold butter for this. I don't think that matters if it's cold or melted or whatever, but I think it just works for by virtue of it's just easier to cut.
Right.
Yeah. So then you just throw this in. I always I think if they recommend like 1 or 2 tablespoons of sugar, but I always do like, why not 2 tablespoons, because a lot just ends up getting left on the bowl. So.
Yeah.
So then you see like this is it here. I think part of me feels like maybe I could have added more fruit, but that seems okay. This is either a positive or a negative, but now that we're social distancing, when I bake goodies like this, it's only me that's eating it, right? So it's just,
yeah, you're not wrong about that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we have to share. So like when you were asking about the cooking and stuff like that, like, you know, I typically have the film studies faculty over for like a end of the year, kind of end of the academic year kind of party where we make pizzas and stuff like that, homemade pizzas.
Nice.
It's fantastic. And we don't get to do that. And, you know, and that's the kind of thing where I really miss that.
Yeah.
So the thing about the galette, so instead what I'm doing is I'm just folding it over like this, right? And so then you kind of, if you just kind of crease it a little bit, right, like that, it creates a little bit of a effect. Oops. Right, so you can kind of see, right, so it kind of looks like that.
Okay.
Right, so it's like a pocketed kind of thing. But you see, I cook it in a pie plate because if it leaks, right, I'm pretty confident that this one won't leak. Although this right here where I had to do a seam, I'm just not entirely confident about. But then, yeah, so then you do this, right? And then what I'm just going to do is put a little bit of milk in a cup and then take a little brush and brush the milk on it and then sprinkle sugar, and that'll make it crispy and beautiful in color.
Yeah, see, I've never knew that milk could work as like, you know, a crusting agent or something. You know, usually someone's told me to put like, you know, vegetable oil or even just butter around the edges.
Yeah, or egg. Egg works really well too.
Yeah.
Oh, that you get some really gorgeous brown sheen for some savory stuff. But, you know, I'm just going to use a little. It's not even much at all. I think that's going to be plenty. And I'm just using it. It's for me, the milk is just an excuse for the sugar to adhere to it, right? So, and then it's just a kind of a little, just moisten it. Yeah, how was your semester? I think it's
you know,
tough.
For the most part, it was easily adapted. Like, you know, for film history, I was able to, you know, just like, watch movies, you know, in my own home and then contribute to a discussion board. The one that
Are you watching movies on your phone, or are you actually watching them on a big screen?
No, I watch them on a big screen. Like I'm always about going to, like, if I can, I would go to a theater and watch and screen movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If a movie comes out, I will watch it in the theater. I'm not one of those people to wait for it to come out to Netflix or on digital. I want to see something because that's part of the experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part about, you know, what's going on is like all these theaters have had to shut down. Film productions have been kind of put to a halt, and you know it's really kind of unclear how they're gonna like get vamped up again with the social distancing. Like, how do you think the film productions are gonna run now that you know you have to stay 6 feet apart and you can't gather in groups more than like, you know, 5 to 10, and I think they'll up it to 15, but that's still kind of unclear now.
Yeah, no, I think it's really, it's really awful. like I was reading somewhere or hearing this somewhere, I don't remember, but like they're not going to do kissing scenes anymore, right? I mean, it's as simple as that. Like you can't have, but it's, you know, like there's the question, like productions during COVID pandemic, are we going to move to much more distant framing to allow for people to actually be further apart from each other? But then if you think about how so many people are consuming media on their phones, how are people going to be able to see what's actually going on, right? So it's just, yeah. Or we're going to have a lot more films that are like Moon, right? Where you have like one person, you know.
Yeah. That is, yeah, like it's interesting because like if you look at trends in cinema history, like different social events dictated how like movies were, you know, made, or how social constructs, you know, got involved in films. Like, you know, oh, if two people are going to like be intimate, it's like, oh, let's share a cigarette or something. So then you cut to them immediately just having a cigarette, sitting or not even sitting in bed. You know what I mean? It's just all insinuating. Do we have to go back to something like that? Or are they going to, like, again, try to accommodate to something like that where, like, you know, you manipulate angles or you manipulate how close people are interacting and stuff like that?
So this is like ready for the oven.
Okay.
So just put it in, and then you check on it like 25 minutes. It can take up to like 45.
25 minutes, and it's at what is it?
400.
400 degrees. Okay.
Yep. So nice and hot.
Again, because it's so up in the air of how we're going to deal with this going forward, and you know, even though we have all these like kind of phase 1, phase 2 going on, that could change in an instant and then set us right back to self-quarantining and sheltering in and stuff like that. But do you think like the attendance will be higher or lower because it's going to be online? Do you think this will really affect students that want to do a particular subject where it's more hands-on and maybe discourage them from continuing school or something?
Yeah, I mean, I think colleges all around the country are really worried about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so much of the college experience is not just the class, right? I mean, it's about getting to hang out with people who you haven't met before and talking and you know, that hanging out component, I think, is really crucial, that social component. And how is that possible with social distancing, right? I think we're going to have to find ways to kind of...
I look forward to seeing what the pie looks like when it's ready and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll send a picture to you. How's that? Yeah, and I'm relying on you to edit out all my blabbing. So if I'm... Yeah.
Of course, yeah. No, but again, thank you so much for your time.
It's my pleasure. Take care. Thanks for having me.